Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in today to the review of the travel protocols to the Caribbean. We're going to get started here, and we're going to discuss the destinations that Navigare offers and what you should know if you plan to travel here in the next few weeks or months in those destinations. So I wish to point out this is November 30th, and those protocols have been pretty fluid, and some of the answers are not known for some destinations. So we expect clarification on some of the points, particularly for BVI. We expect that over time, some of these restrictions will change. So keep an eye out for the official communication. But here is what we know today. We're going to go over what's going on with BVI and USVI and the Bahamas, and we will outline the different options that you have if you're ready to go sailing. We give you lots of options to go, have fun and do so with relative peace of mind. And if it means you have to postpone your travels, you're, of course, welcome to do that, and we're prepared to do so. So let's go over this as quickly as possible. You can stop me if you have questions, but I would prefer we wait till the end. So I will do a quick recap, and then we can take all of your questions at the end. So I think many of you know that Navigare has been around a long time, particularly in BVI, but there's a few other options now that are available. We're going to have this new base that just opened in the Abacos and officially starts tomorrow, but we had our first charter departure just a couple of days ago. We're very thrilled to see some possibilities for our charter guests in the Abacos. So we have 6 cats at the moment, plus 3 power cats offered on charter with Navigare Yachting. BVI is probably what you know us for, and we're now in Nanny Key on Tortola Island, and we have over 45 sailing catamarans and monohulls. St. Thomas is something we just announced a few days ago, and we're going to allow departures from St. Thomas for a limited number of catamarans to start, and depending on demand, we're prepared to change up the lineup between BVI and the USVI. So for those of you who are maybe not so familiar with the islands, I wanted to show this quick map that shows that as much as we would like to offer more boats where they're needed, sometimes you do need a little bit of a heads up before you send your extra boats to the Bahamas. So we'll wait to see what the market tells us, but as far as what's happening today, it's laid out on this map. So the Abacos, by sheer coincidence, as I mentioned, opens December 1st, the same date that BVI will reopen. And the new base is easily accessible in Marsh Harbor, either via Nassau or Miami. So the protocols there are pretty straightforward, and we'll go over those. In BVI is where things have taken the longest to reopen, and under what seems to be the tightest restrictions. But we will walk you through the options there. The new base is located in Nanny Key. So if you've chartered with us before in the last year or two, you're going to have a nice upgrade, because we think that the facility of Nanny Key are just really more modern, give you more room, give us more room to grow as well. And it's just as easily accessible from Beef Island Airport or the ferry dock. So I listed here the options to get to us, but keep in mind, if you've read the news, you know that the seaports will reopen from December 8th. And that particular seaport, the one that welcomes the ferry from St. Thomas in Road Town, is reopening December 8th. Some other seaports in the future might be of interest to you, but I can't speak to those dates. So remember, if you have a charter arriving in the next 7 days, you should be flying through EIS. And I actually should know who you are. So keep that in mind as you plan future travels, in case the protocols were to change, which is really hard to predict, but this is something we had to work around. And then the US Virgin Islands is our newest announcement. As I mentioned, we're going to start charter departures from December 15th, and we are in St. Thomas there with our partner CYOA, a well-established operator. So the access there is very easy because it's very near the airport, like 2 miles from the airport. And then it's your gateway to not only USVI, but hopefully down the road, BVI as well, when crossing over will be more of a breeze. So let's dive into these protocols. Now you know what your options are if you're going to sail with Navigare, and perhaps you have a charter already scheduled with us. So the BVI, you know what they say, you swallow the frog first, right? So get the toughest one out of the way. The requirements are the following. You need to have a negative PCR COVID test before you fly, and it should be done, and you should have results no earlier than 5 days before you get to BVI. And you're going to need to show proof of your negative results, and you'll also submit it online on their gateway. There is no testing required for children under 10, actually 10 and under. However, every person in your party must submit this online travel authorization. So you'll apply for that on the BVI gateway, and I've gathered all the links in one tidy page in this presentation. Part of the requirements from the British Virgin Islands is that you must obtain travel insurance with COVID-19 coverage in case you do need to be taken care of and you need to have health coverage due to COVID. That needs to be covered through that insurance. However, BVI said they would announce what their requirements are, and they haven't actually spelled them out. So we've taken a liberty of, guiding our guests and providing kind of the expectation, but without really the official word from BVI. It's just travel insurance. Make sure it includes COVID-19, and you should be okay. The additional PCR tests are a little bit strict for most, but here they are. Not only you'll have your PCR test before you depart, but you also will have one upon arrival, and that is done at the airport. So you will not need to be shuttled to a different place. They will have a special area for you to get your test done on site. And then after you depart the airport, you will be put in the hands of an approved transporter. In our case, it's going to be a Navigare appointed gold seal certificate taxi or van to deliver you and your group to our base. So as you get closer to your departure, we'll provide you those details, and you will easily spot your driver. So that is done on site at the airport. It will also be done on site at the ferry terminal when you arrive from St. Thomas. Then the PCR test that is required on day 4, as you may have read, must be performed at one of the approved sites, and we have not yet received the list of where those tests can be performed. So unless I missed an announcement, we're going to have to wait and see what those are. There was a question from Sarah, assuming we need a negative PCR test versus rapid test. It is expensive to take the PCR test, and it usually takes longer. So that's what we call the test, the PCR, as opposed to the rapid test. And in BVI, ahead of traveling and while you're there, you are required to specifically get the PCR. So if you've got plans to travel in the next few weeks, you should definitely call around to find out who can deliver those test results. And it's a PCR test that you want within those 5 days, right? So we'll go over that schedule here in a little bit more so you can understand. But your arrival is going to be day 0, and the earliest you can take the test is -5. So it's almost technically 6 days, right? So your arrival date is day 0. The cost of the PCR was one of the big objections from the industry, from the travel industry, when we first heard about the protocols from BVI. So it's something that the BVI government has worked on with us and with the other actors of the travel industry to make sure that it's manageable. So they've actually bundled the 2 PCR tests that you will need in BVI together with a tracking bracelet / band that you will be asked to wear. So that cost of $175, we must assume is quite heavily subsidized by BVI, even though it is an extra, out-of-pocket cost, and we're realizing this. But those are the requirements. And remember, BVI does not have the infrastructure that we may have, stateside to care for and support people with COVID, and so they're very, very protective of their health, as they should be. So we're just taking it in stride and hoping that everybody can comply and still have a holiday somewhere here. And if not, I understand that some of you will need to postpone. So don't shoot the messenger, but here it is. The other strict requirement is a self-quarantine. They call it the mobile bubble on your charter yacht for 4 days. So what this means is when the approved, bus or van or taxi driver will take you from the airport or from the ferry to the Navigare base, we're going to put you on your boat and you have to stay there. This means you can't roam around, you can't do your provisioning, you can't, run to the liquor store to pick up last errands. You're going to have to do those ahead of time. And many of our guests are used to having provisions delivered. It's actually a great service. So something you can and will take advantage of here. So again, no onshore attractions for these 4 days. You'll have pre-approved mooring sites that you'll need to go to. And that means that we'll have to guide you during the briefing upon your arrival to tell you where you can stay. Haven't seen the list yet of those mooring sites, but again, assuming that the BVI government understands our business, there will be a number of sites scattered around the islands to give you enough room to not be too close to other vessels and not in crowded areas from shore. So the other requirement is that you will be asked to stay within 30 feet of your vessel. This is the guideline that was provided. Once again, you're asked to abide by the rules. Nobody will probably measure, if you're 30 or 35 feet, but just use your best judgment to keep your crew safe and to prevent, interactions, exposure to other tourists in the area where you will be sailing. So again, realizing this is a little bit tricky. Hopefully you're sailing for way more than 4 days, and then from day 5, you're free to go. So what BVI has said is that they're expecting the negative test result on the day 4 to come back the next day. And I know to us it sounds, well, really hard to do, because I know in the US anyway, we're having a hard time getting that 5-day requirement covered. So keep in mind, they're going to have testing capacity on site in BVI, and they don't have the need to test right now. So there's only so few tourists, the brave ones, that will show up and need a PCR test. And so it's expected that you'll be able to get them by the next day. So again, then you're free to roam. Social distancing applies. So they'll be asking you to, heavily sanitize, wear your masks, and apply the small group gathering rules. So yes, Navigare is a Gold Seal certified provider. That means that you are authorized to do that quarantine on one of our boats, and all of our boats had to be inspected as well. So this has been a really fun process to go through. We like hoops, but anyway, we didn't need that one. And if you can cover this list, then we'll be ready to welcome you. So BVI is definitely more restrictive than we had hoped. And so we didn't skip a beat. We just said, okay, well, what is it going to take to go to the US Virgin Islands? Because some of you have expressed interest to go there. So it's a lot less restrictive. In USVI, you can take any kind of COVID test within 5 days and have that proof before you fly for ages 5 and up. So that means rapid test, PCR test, as long as it's coming from an approved lab, your COVID test will be approved. Alternatively, if you have already been affected by COVID-19 and you have the antibody test showing a positive result of that past infection, then you will be able to travel without having to take a PCR or a rapid test. Okay, so all of these guidelines are also on the website, but what this means is you're just one test away from sailing the US Virgin Islands. They want you to submit your information through the USVI travel screening portal. Again, I'll share that link in a moment. So it's pretty straightforward, and I put preferred because actually it's the only one that lets you provide a paper form within 24 hours of travel if you have, an urgent need to travel, such as a really great charter deal. But all jokes aside, they make it possible for you to bring a paper form with you if your application can't be reviewed and approved in due time. So, we haven't talked about turnaround for BVI, but we should expect that it would take between 24 and 48 hours to have that approval. So you really want to get your test done as soon as possible so you can submit those results and not scramble at the last minute to get on your flight, because you will not be able to fly without the negative COVID test in either of these places. So USVI, more straightforward, very quick. You will not be able to travel to BVI, however, as you can imagine, not at this time anyway. So when the USVI information is posted on the website, and it hopefully is going to be available tomorrow, you'll see an itinerary for USVI waters only. And if you need it right away, you can just email me also. I can send that over. So if USVI is a good alternative, definitely something that is much easier, right, than BVI. And then, of course, there's the Bahamas. We're really excited about this destination. We know it's not quite like the Virgin Islands, and that's also why some of you like it. It's just different, right? It's not as tropical, but it's a beautiful, clear water destination, just like you want them, and it's close to home, so it's a little bit easier to fly out and get home, and it's just a fairly easy process compared to BVI. See for yourself. You'll need, again, a negative PCR test before you fly, no earlier than 5 days. And there will be no testing required for children 10 and under. You will be asked to apply for the required Bahamas Travel Health Visa online. And if you do stay longer than 4 nights, 5 days, a rapid test is requested. And there's so far 8 sites throughout the Abacos, and I have the list of where you can find those sites. So, realistically, if you're going to sail for 7 or 8 days, you just have to plan your itinerary to find one of these test sites halfway through your trip. Within the application, actually on the Bahamas site, you'll have the opt-in for the COVID-19 health insurance, which we know then will be compliant with what the Bahamas is expecting. So go ahead and check that box. And the cost is included in the application, along with the cost of the rapid test if you do need it. So it's another way to kind of package everything together, but without being as rigid as the BVI. You will also be getting a daily health questionnaire by email during your stay. That's just to keep up with you and see how you're doing. And so if you don't have any symptoms, then there will be no follow-up. I can imagine that if there are concerns about the health of anyone in your party, the Bahamas authorities will just want to know that. So that's Bahamas. I see another question back to the PCR test. If negative results have to be posted 2 days before travel and they take 3 days to come back, will there be any leeway at all? So let me explain. Both for Bahamas and BVI, they will say they need 48 hours. In reality, in Bahamas, the applications that even as Navigare staff we had to go through were approved within less than an hour. So of course you want to give them as much time as possible. But let me explain the timeline. It's the same for BVI. They want you to submit all of your information so it can be reviewed, except for the negative PCR test. And so the negative test is something that you supplement at the end of the process. So it's almost like you're pre-approved, and then they review your test result, and then you're good to go. So it's a 2-step process for these 2 locations. I think USVI, you just do it all at once. And if you don't quite get it in time, you bring the paper and the test with you, and then you're good to go. So see the subtleties. It's a little different. This is the little visual I wanted to show. This one is for USVI, but evidently USVI and BVI are using the same 5-day PCR. As you can see here, the day that you travel is day 0. So you almost have 6 days, right? You can take the test on day 5 in hope to have it on day 3 or 2, and then you submit it. And by the time you travel, you should be approved pretty quickly. So don't panic. We review a lot of the forms online, especially for people traveling to BVI who don't know if they're going to get their thing back in time. I mean, these people in BVI, they're working hard. They really want you there. So I think you're going to get through eventually. But let's all do our due diligence. Take as little time as we need. Let's post these PCR test results, and then we can see you sailing. So the resources I mentioned earlier, I gathered on this page the different links, and if you Google them, you will find them easily. So the BVI gateway, there was a lot of chatter because it took a while for it to come online, but now you can see it. I recommend you have all your information handy to submit it all in one go. And again, you will not need to put everything there. The negative PCR test can be supplemented. So that's for BVI. And I found that they have public briefings that they post on Facebook. So they're short videos of a few minutes, 3-5 minutes, and they are quite helpful. So just like we are, keep an eye on those. And yes, today, this is where we get our news, is directly from their Facebook posts, because they're just more regularly updated than their site. But you will find those briefings to answer a lot of your questions. And if you have any trouble with the gateway, they also have, they had at some point a WhatsApp number, but I haven't seen it published lately. So I don't know if they're monitoring that as actively, but you can email bvigateway@bviaa.com and they can help you. So there's also the USVI travel portal, which again, here's the link if you want the form, and you can find it on their site as well. They allow you to complete the form manually and bring it with you. So I think that's a nice option too, if you must use that. And then for Bahamas, here is the site as well for their health. I think they call it health passport. You will need to access the testing site locations as well to see and plan your itinerary. Keep in mind that I don't have that yet for BVI. We're still waiting to hear, and we will post that as soon as it's available on the website. So keep checking for under the news section of the Navigare website. We will update those as well. Okay, so deep breath. Right, breathe. We're going on holiday. As far as I know, everybody will be happy, right? We're going to take good care of you. This is what we've been doing from the beginning. We're really working hard to send you sailing one way or another. So let's talk a little bit about your options here. And then I want to open up for questions, because I don't want to take too much time sharing what's mostly public information anyway, but there's also sometimes little anecdotes that help us you know, give you tips and guidance. Particularly, I was thinking of one: if you do travel to BVI through USVI, you're going to have to also submit your negative PCR test results on the USVI platform. Not sure if you thought about that. So you'll want to do that. And I believe for USVI to just submit that, you know, kind of transit submission, there should be no cost associated with it. But I haven't actually done it myself. I've gone through as far as I could without submitting the information that is just not available because I don't have any flights booked, but was working fairly well. So give it a go. And if you have any trouble, let us know too, because we can try and help nudge things along if we're finding glitches, that sort of thing. So about your options. So if you have a booking and you kind of want to see how things develop and you want to see what's going on with a few charters that will actually go out this week, you know, ideally we would like to have 30 days, but no less than 2 weeks, because if you are going to change your dates and there's a chance that somebody, particularly around the holiday, will, you know, try to escape for a BVI charter around Christmas and you decide you can't do it, then we definitely want to have as much time as possible. So please help us in you know, trying to make this work. We are happy to answer questions. We get solicited a lot. We have a lot of, you know, inquiries coming in at all times, mostly because protocols have changed with BVI or things are not always clear. So we try our best, but if we're not responding quickly enough, just send us a little nudge and we'll do our best to respond in a timely fashion. We will accommodate changes in dates, base location, when availability permits. So whenever you browse the Navigare site, you can pretty much see all the yachts in real time. And when the USVI boats are also posted online, you'll see exactly what is there. So if you have, I don't know, a booking on a 3-cabin boat, and I know we don't have any 3-cabin boat in USVI, and you want to make a switch, well, look for what would be an acceptable replacement boat or acceptable dates, and let us know what you're trying to accomplish, and we'll find a way. So it helps if you do a little bit of digging ahead online, or if you just tell us, hey, my dates are super set, I just want to see what else you have, then we will facilitate that, you know, as much as possible. If you haven't booked yet and you want to add extra peace of mind, we offer Navigare Flex, which is like travel insurance, only better. So we offer through Navigare the option to fully cancel and get a full refund up to 21 days before departure. So if you haven't booked yet, do consider that option, because it's a nice way to put something on the calendar, but then if you need to back out, you're not going to lose much. You just have to pay the Navigare flex fee. That's non-refundable. That's $400. There's a question for what are the facilities that are open in the USVI restaurants, etc. So as far as I know, USVI resembles the most what we have in the US. So I'm pretty sure outdoor dining is still going. They have, they're really trying to salvage the tourism activity that they have there. But I will have to find out if there is a list of what's open. I have one for Bahamas. If you go on the Navigare site and under Bahamas, you'll see what's open by location. Bahamas is a bit of a different animal because obviously there was a hurricane there a year ago. So yeah, Marsh Harbor is really, really looking forward to your business, and we want to help them rebuild. So that I would check online, because the website, the travel website, what would you call it? The Travel Authority website for USVI and Bahamas have that information. So we've been reposting it. Question is, no change fee, but will we have to forfeit the special discount that we got through your promotion last year? So actually, as much as possible, we will honor whatever discount you had. And if, let's say, you had a special offer last year, I think that's the one that you're referring to, Matthew. If you had that offer, we're going to actually honor it for another year from the dates that you have to switch. So let's say you have January dates, and perhaps since you had bought it in May and it was valid through May of 2021, we're actually going to give you an extra year from January. Let's say that was your travel date. We're going to give you till January 2022. To redeem your offer. So we would like to be like the most flexible, most loved, and helpful company out there. We're not trying to keep your money and not send you sailing, or forget about the great offer we gave you. In fact, we want to thank you for sticking with us when the times were a little tough. So we will honor that discount. So that was your options. Here's the best way forward. If you have a new booking you'd like to make, or you want to get a quote, simply email charter@navigare-yachting.com. To change your booking, the easiest, because I know a lot of you have emailed me and I see every one of your emails, trust me, all of you will get a response this week, because I know you're waiting on me for a few of these things. I'm trying to prioritize. Obviously, we have December departures, so that's been the focus, but any changes in your bookings, you'll be super well served to contact Hunter at aftersales@navigareyachting.com. So he will be able to assist you. And if he's unsure about what we were trying to accomplish, he will always ask me if I work with you directly. But more and more, I need to rely on the team to help us. Otherwise, we can't really make great progress on our new destinations and putting the good words out there for future Navigare clients, which is my job too. Any general questions you can keep on sending to me. And I will answer them, as I said, in priority, usually by departures. But if something is of greater importance for any reason whatsoever, it will get my full attention, or I will pass it on. I have a question. Our boat is chartered in BVI and we're US citizens. I assume we cannot sail from BVI to USVI and back, even if we were approved through the more restricted BVI requirement. Is that correct? I wouldn't advise it. It's not to say that it cannot be done, but what I'm seeing is if you are approved through BVI and you leave to go to USVI, you won't be able to come back. That's the latest, and that's because private vessels are not allowed to enter BVI. So the opening of the seaports, that's just for like transport and commercial operations. So as an individual that is not a BVI person, in fact, I'm not sure any vessel at the moment can enter BVI unless they have special exemptions. So wouldn't recommend it because you might get stuck. Can the same yacht schedule for BVI be moved to sail the schedule week in USVI? So that's a really good question. Usually no, because we have way more boat in BVI than we have in USVI. But where it makes sense, and if the schedule allows it, we will definitely allow you to switch on to a different boat. Because we expect that we're going to have more demand for USVI, we're not really sure what December will look like as far as availability. We're getting some good inquiries, which is a good sign. However, we don't want to strip BVI of boats to give to USVI to get more bookings when we know that there's people that are trying to see if they can depart for BVI. So it's been a bit of a tricky exercise. So the same yacht, no, but similar model, possibly. So for example, we have Lagoon 42s, we have Lagoon 46, Lagoon 50s, and I think we have one FP 42, 4 cabins. We don't have any 3 cabins. And as new boats get delivered, because we have, you know, new owners whose boats will get commissioned and arrive, they're assigned to their original base. But of course, as the next few weeks shake up and give us a little bit of a clearer picture, we can decide on what to do. But as you can imagine, it's really hard to know, because right now a lot of people are hanging on to see, hey, can we make those protocols in January or February? And then it takes time as you get closer for people to make their determination on what they are willing and able to do. So that makes it a little bit hard for us, but the goal is for you to go sailing. And if there's a path forward here with BVI, obviously we'll know really soon because we're starting tomorrow. But we realize that it's a lot of, you know, it's a lot on you. There's added costs, and then there's logistics, and just having a vaccine that is accessible to everybody maybe is a great way to think about the future. Because right now, you know, running a charter like this has some challenges, and we realize that not everybody can do it, particularly with you know, taking off work or children off school that have restrictions. So anyway, we're all in the same boat, right? That's what they say. I'm in that boat too. Otherwise, I might be going to USVI. Any questions? We have yeah, I had set aside about 45 minutes, so I can take more questions. Somebody had asked earlier about the possibility to wear the bracelet while diving. And so what I've heard lately, and I don't know if it's BVI trying to be overcautious or if the technology is just really not supporting diving or snorkeling too deep, but I've been told that the limit is 3 feet underwater for it to remain watertight. And it sounds really low, but that's what we've been told. So we'll let you know over the next few weeks what we hear on those bracelets. But if you do break the bracelet, I think the cost is $125. So perhaps let other people make the mistake, and we'll let you know how it goes. So diving may be off out of reach on this next couple of weeks. So next question is, when will BVI announce their approved moorings and test sites? I think 2 weeks ago. Don't know, Rob. Oh, it's Bob Riley. Hey, Bob. Do not know. We hope to find out. I think the information should trickle in this week. We have our first charter guest departing tomorrow. Do not really know, but don't expect to keep them at the dock. So we'll find a way. Somebody asked earlier if the boat will need to display or fly the quarantine flag. I haven't seen an official announcement on that, but it's possible. So I have to check on that. Another question. Any idea what will be required if you happen to test positive on day 5 of your trip in the Bahamas? Will you be able to leave at the end of your charter? Generally, I want to say yes, because Bahamas has been open a while. In fact, they had a quarantine for the beginning, I think through November 1 or November 15, and they dropped it. And their only requirement on the quarantine is that if you were to become sick, you had to leave. So my understanding is that the only downside to a positive in Bahamas is that you're turning around. I have heard, but I haven't, experienced that it can be difficult to fly back if you are testing positive. So I don't know what are the requirements on airline, what information is shared from the Bahamas Authority to the airlines. I don't know that. I mean, part of that is your private information, but what does that mean if you are, COVID positive and then you're trying to fly home with a loaded plane with people. I don't know. We may have to send you on a longer charter. I hope that's okay with you, Rob. Does the 30 feet around the yacht restriction apply to the private islands with beach restaurants? As far as I know, yes. Okay, this is what BVI tells us. In regards to what you do in those private islands, if there's no one around, I mean, I am not the police. I can tell you what's going to happen. I don't know about beach restaurants because they have to first be gold certified, and they were told to only deliver, do contactless delivery for quarantine yachts and guests. So let's say whether you're on a boat or at a resort, you can't go out and get food. It has to be delivered to you. So I don't know that the fact that the restaurants are on private island is that changes anything. I would think that they might lose their gold seal certification if they were caught doing something they're not supposed to. And I don't see them, jeopardizing that because they could lose their whole season. 30-foot restriction definitely in place at, touristy locations like the Bath. So I would, try to plan your itinerary around the island so that you can finish with the onshore locations you definitely want to hit at the end of your itinerary. That's the best guidance I can give you. And 30 feet, I realize, is not really far. Again, don't shoot the messenger. But if there is a way for you to sail, BVI is definitely the hardest one, but there's a way, right? It's just the details on the mooring sites are not known yet. And once we have them, we will, of course, provide itineraries that also take into account the test sites. So we're definitely open for business. I haven't seen more questions come through. If you're ready to go sailing, we're ready to take you. And we very much appreciate your business, your patience, and let us know when you're ready to go sailing again. If you have, I think you've seen it, today is our last day for, we had a Black Friday week. So you had a really good offer there to go sailing. And after that, we're back to the regular. So today's your last day. I understand that a lot of you are uncertain about what to do, and just know that we will do our best to keep you whole. So even if we have to rebook, we're trying to minimize the inconvenience and for sure the added costs. So just keep working with us, and we'll be there when you're ready. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And you know where to find me. I'll be available by email, Marilyn@navigare-yachting.com. You have a great evening. Thank you so much.